Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something pretty crucial, managing information technology within an organization.
Yeah, it's all about keeping data secure, systems running smoothly.
And just, keeping up with how fast everything changes. It's a constant reevaluation, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that brings us to, well, the frameworks designed to help. We're looking at stuff from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST.
Right, NIST, established way back 1901 to help U.S. industry.
And then they really jumped into cybersecurity around 1995. They've become a major player.
Okay, so you shared three specific NIST frameworks.
Right.
We've got the Cybersecurity Framework, or CSF.
Yep.
The Privacy Framework.
That's the newer.
And SB 853, the Security and Privacy Controls.
Exactly.
So our goal today is basically to get a handle on what each one is really for and, how they help organizations manage different kinds of risks.
Sounds good. Where should we start? CSF.
Yeah, let's kick off with the Cybersecurity Framework. You mentioned it's voluntary.
That's right, voluntary. It's built around three core components: the framework core, implementation tiers, and framework profiles.
Okay, the core sounds central. What's in there?
It really is. It outlines 5 main functions. Think of them as happening concurrently, all the time, to manage cyber risk cost-effectively.
5 functions. Okay, lay them out for us.
The first is identify. You've got to know you have your IT assets, users, systems, make records.
Makes sense. Catalog everything. What's next?
Protect. This is about putting safeguards in place, things like access controls, encryption, backups, definitely user training.
Okay, identify, protect.
Detect.
Yeah.
Using tools and processes to spot active cyber attacks, monitoring network access, looking for weird behavior.
Like that example in the source about Falcon CPAs.
Mm-hmm.
Detecting employee data theft by spotting odd logins and USB use.
Exactly that. That's detect in action. And, just having detection measures can act as a deterrent, like a visible webcam might.
Right, okay. So identify, protect, detect. What else?
Respond. This function outlines how you actually contain a cyber event once it's detected, how you react, mitigate losses, notify people.
What Falcon CPAs would need to do after finding that theft.
Precisely. And the last one is recover, getting back to normal, repairing equipment, restoring data from backups, that sort of thing.
Identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. Got it. It's a cycle.
A continuous process, yeah. And those 5 functions, they're broken down further into 23 categories and even 108 subcategories, linking activities to outcomes.
Wow, okay. Detailed. What about the tiers you mentioned?
The implementation tiers. There are 4: partial, risk-informed, repeatable, and adaptive. Crucially, they aren't steps to follow.
No. What are they then?
They're more like benchmarks. They measure how well integrated your cybersecurity risk practices are within your overall organizational risk management.
It's a maturity level.
Okay, a maturity level. And
Yes.
the profiles.
Framework profiles are your custom roadmap. You figure out your current profile where you are now, then your target profile where you want to be based on business needs, risk tolerance, industry factors.
And the difference is the gap you need to bridge.
Exactly. It's about creating a prioritized plan to reduce risk.
Okay, that gives a good picture of the CSF. Let's shift gears to the NIST Privacy Framework. Newer, right? 2020.
Yeah, relatively new. Its focus is specifically on protecting individuals' privacy during data processing. It's designed to be industry agnostic.
And you mentioned it has a similar structure to the CSF.
It does, very much so. You've got a core, profiles, and tiers again. It applies that same risk management approach, but focus squarely on privacy risks.
So organizations familiar with the CSF might find it easier to adopt.
Definitely. There's overlap. In fact, the CSF functions of detect, respond, and recover can actually support managing privacy risks identified by the privacy framework.
Interesting synergy. So what are the core functions for privacy? Still 5?
Actually, there are 8 here. Some parallel the CSF, but with a P for privacy. So identify P, understanding privacy risks in data processing.
Okay.
Govern P, establishing the rules and governance for privacy risk. Control P, defining how you manage those risks. Communicate Debia P, driving dialogue about privacy.
Poor so far.
Then Protect P, implementing the actual safeguards for privacy risk. And then, leveraging those CSF concepts, you have detect, respond, and recover, but tailored for data privacy events and risks.
Got it. 8 functions, again broken down into categories and subcategories.
You have 29 categories and 100 subcategories in this case.
And the profiles and tiers for privacy work similarly to CSFs, custom roadmaps and maturity levels.
Pretty much the same idea, yeah. The tiers here also add a specific consideration for the workforce dedicated to privacy tasks.
Okay. CSF's flexible, voluntary cybersecurity privacy framework is similar, voluntary, for data privacy. What about the third one, SP 800-53? How does that fit in?
SP 853. This one's different. It's generally seen as much more rigorous. It's a standard, not just a framework of best practices.
The source called it stricter, right? Especially for federal systems.
Definitely. It's become the standard for federal information systems under rules like FISMA, designed to protect against really sophisticated threats. It's comprehensive.
How comprehensive are we talking?
While the latest version, revision 5, has nearly 1,200 controls. So yeah, very detailed.
Wow. Okay, so primarily federal, but does it get used elsewhere?
Oh, absolutely. While mandatory for federal systems via things like OMB Circular A130, its target audience is broad IT folks, security pros, engineers, managers, even commercial companies use it as a benchmark for robust security.
So what does it demand from an organization using it?
It puts a heavy emphasis on things like having really well-defined security requirements from the start, using trustworthy system components, rigorous planning and security engineering.
Sounds intense.
It is. Also, documented practices for pretty much everything, and crucially, continuous monitoring of security controls. It's a whole life cycle approach.
And those 1,200 controls are organized somehow.
They are into 20 control families. Things like AC for access control, AT for awareness and training, IR for incident response. Each family addresses key security questions.
And within families.
You have the base controls, which state the security objective. Then you often have control enhancements, which are like added best practices to strengthen the control.
Okay. And you mentioned organizations define parameters.
Yes, many control statements include placeholders for organization-defined parameters, allowing some tailoring, but within that strict structure.
I remember this source mentioned a big change from revision 4 to 5. Something about baselines.
Right. Rev 4 had these low, moderate, and high baselines, suggesting different sets of controls based on system impact. Rev 5 did away with that.
Really?
The idea now is a more consolidated, comprehensive, single baseline. You select the controls applicable to your system from the full catalog, rather than starting from a predefined subset. It pushes for broader consideration of all controls.
Interesting shift. How do organizations actually implement all these controls? Is it all system by system?
Not necessarily. There are three approaches. Common controls are implemented once centrally and inherited by multiple systems, think enterprise-wide policies.
Efficient.
System-specific controls are, well, unique to one particular system. And hybrid controls have elements managed centrally and other parts managed locally by the system.
So flexibility in implementation, even within the strict standard.
Exactly. It allows for some scalability.
Okay, so let's recap quickly. We've got the CSF, voluntary, flexible, risk-based for cybersecurity. The privacy framework, similar structure, voluntary, but for data privacy risks. And then SP 853, much more rigorous, detailed controls, a standard, often mandatory for federal systems, but used more widely for high assurance.
That sums it up pretty well. Different tools for different needs and risk appetites, really. Understanding the purpose and structure of each is key.
Absolutely. So for you listening, here's something to mull over. Thinking about your own work, your industry, or just your interests. Which of these frameworks, or maybe a mix of them, seems most relevant to the challenges you see?
Yeah, and maybe what's just one small initial step an organization could take to even begin exploring one of these? Could it be just starting that identify process from the CSF? Or maybe reviewing one control family from 853?
Good questions. Definitely something worth considering as we all navigate this complex IT landscape. Thanks for breaking down these crucial frameworks with us.
My pleasure. It's important stuff.